2 of Expand North Star here at GITEX Global, the largest tech show in the world. And Expand North Star here at our new exciting venue at Dubai Harper. We're just really pleased to have you. This is our concluding finale of day 2, and we've got an action-packed 2 more days to come. But without further ado, allow me to introduce my very special guest who's come in from Egypt to share his business journey with us, and I have the pleasure of interviewing him, so I'm just very, very excited about that. Mounir Nakhla is the founder and CEO of MNT-Halan, Egypt, and please do give him a very warm welcome for this very special interview. Thank you. Mounir, do take a seat here and make yourself comfortable. Fantastic. So, what we found over the last day and a half here at Expand North Star, it's our landmark startup event. We found that we've got a really good mix of an international audience as well as people based here in the UAE. So what I'd like to ask our special guests, what's your relationship with the UAE to begin with? How many times can you count that you've been here, and how do you find your experience of visiting the GITEX venue?
So my relationship with the UAE dates back to when I passed through here on my way to Bali in 2004, and I've seen it develop enormously. So I've seen all of the UAE, whether Dubai or Abu Dhabi, develop enormously. The last link is Chimera, which is the sovereign fund. They made an investment with us, a decent sized investment with us. So we're backed by UAE government, basically.
Fantastic. So there's a deep relationship. It goes over a long period of time, and of course it has its personal connections with you as well as a business connection. In order to set the scene for the business model that we're going to be talking about, Mounir, I hear that you are described as a serial entrepreneur, someone who's founded multiple businesses over the past decade, and your entrepreneurial journey started at a very tender age of 12, I believe, and you founded a Mashroi, am I pronouncing that correctly? An asset-based microfinance company that focused on selling 2- and 3-wheelers, which later became a fully fledged consumer finance company. So it's a very interesting start for your business model. And of course, fast forward to where you are now and what we're celebrating here on this stage. You, of course, are behind one of Egypt's hottest unicorns. And I would say Africa is, am I right in saying, a little bit more global there? Africa's hottest valuable unicorn worth over $1 billion. Remarkable. It's a remarkable success. So I want you to take us through, over the course of the 20-30 minutes that we have here, that journey. The 12-year-old who started your entrepreneurial journey to the big celebration that we have here today.
So it's a long story.
Yes.
My story is an extension of my uncle's story. He was consulting for USAID in the field of microfinance since 1988. Year 2000, I was doing my undergrad dissertation, and it was on the impact of microfinance for small borrowers, small business owners.
You just hold the microphone.
And what I realized is that it's a huge, huge market. There are a lot of Egyptians, a lot of people who are underbanked, and access to finance is nearly more important than access to infrastructure. So if you tell them you need money to grow your business, or do you need money for electricity or water, they would probably opt for money to grow their business.
Interesting. So your uncle, you attribute your uncle as
he was a consultant.
He
was a consultant. It was the same time Muhammad Yunus in Bangladesh was starting microfinance, and he was starting it in Egypt. Fast forward 2009, I decide, okay, I'm moving out of the consulting business and I'm going into the business world. There was no microfinance law issued in Egypt, so we couldn't really lend money as private companies. So what we did is, vehicle financing. We started off selling 2 and 3 wheelers on credit. We opened 200 branches, started adding electronics, electrical appliances, one product after the other. 2014, the microfinance law was issued. As soon as it was issued, it's my core business. We went out, we got the license, started doing group loans for women. So empowering women through loans to grow their businesses. Then we came into small businesses, entrepreneurs. This grew. Today we're Egypt's largest non-bank lender, probably, to individuals. We have a loan book of about $550 million. We've served millions and millions of customers. In any given year, last year we had 1.5 million active borrowers. And so the business grew. In 2017, I get a phone call from one of my investors. He tells me, Mounir, take a plane, come to Indonesia. I want you to see a company called Gojek. Gojek was a ride-hailing company that merged with Tokopedia to create GoTo, and at its height, it was a $30 billion company. But when I went to meet them, it was just a unicorn. We were valued at a fraction of that. And it took me some time to digest. Why are they valued so highly? Why are we valued at a fraction? And the answer was technology. So I said, okay, we're going to establish a tech company that does exactly what they do. And that was very opportunistically.
So you said the answer was the ecology.
Was technology.
Technology. That makes a lot of sense, yes.
No.
To identify that was their kind of secret sauce.
Yes.
Okay.
Although if the market starts valuing ecology at billion-dollar companies, that would be probably much better for the whole world.
You would think so.
You would think so. So we establish a tech company, we start doing ride-hailing. Very soon we're losing a lot of money. We're burning $1 million a month. Unit economics didn't make sense. The lending businesses were growing very, very fast. And at that point, I had a talk with the team and we pivoted into fintech. We started developing our core banking software, API first. Then we started adding a wallet, e-commerce platform, and we started adding one thing to another, became data-driven, incorporated AI in a number of things. And now we're probably, if there are 1.5 million unique credit card holders in Egypt, in all of the banking system, we have 1.5 million borrowers.
That's remarkable. That's such an amazing reach. And as you just said, that you said you're Egypt's largest non-bank lender. What does that mean for you in terms of your competition? Who's your nearest rival?
So in different verticals of our business, we've got different competitors.
Sure.
But I don't think there is any individual or unique competitor that's addressing the whole ecosystem. So we're trying to create a full-fledged ecosystem, multiple touch points to our customers, to our merchants. I don't think anyone's doing it.
See, the reason I ask you this, Mounir, because you come with such a wealth of experience and you have such an international perspective, that often I find when I speak to people at your level, you have to look beyond your environs for your competition. It then becomes not someone in Egypt, potentially as somebody elsewhere, or as a company, or as a model elsewhere, or you are inventing the model as you go along.
So I think what we're doing is somewhat unique in strategy. Different parts of what we do is covered by other players. We are really disrupting the industry we were the largest in. So if you think microfinance, SME financing, consumer financing, we're disrupting this through technology, and we were the largest in this model. If I were to think who could be our disruptor, who could be a player that could seriously compete with us, it would probably be not one of the usual suspects who are doing non-bank lending. Could be telecom. Telecom have huge access to customer base. So telecom, we're very mindful of them. We're very focused on what they're doing. Or it could be one of the blind spots we can't see right now.
I think it's just really intriguing to hear about that and to set the scene. And tell me about, when it comes to being in the position that you hold, how do you keep yourself personally motivated? What's your secret for that kind of mental resilience that your role requires? Because we have a lot of startup investors, we have people who are on their entrepreneurial journey. So sometimes behind the scenes tips are very good to hear from people in your stature.
So, as an individual, I'm totally self-motivated, right? So, and I think what motivates me the most is thinking of an idea and seeing it materialize in the real world. So, overcoming all the challenges, thinking of the details, and making it happen. And it's also succeeding. So I like winning. I was a bad loser as a kid. I didn't like losing. I was,
Yes.
I've heard you should be a good sport, like again and again and again throughout my childhood. Now, in sports, I'm a much better sport. In board games, in cards, I'm a much better sport. But I've channeled all my energy to work, and that's what keeps me going.
So it's served you well to continue to be driven and ambitious and not actually necessarily kind of be the good sport. You like to push yourself.
I like to push myself to the limit.
That's very
To the
interesting.
limit.
I think there's going to be some more interesting questions to delve in there. Just to mention to our audience now, I will be throwing it out to you to also ask your questions of Mounir. So have your questions ready. He's a very approachable gentleman. But just to continue in terms of where do you feel Egypt is going when it comes to entrepreneurs like yourself, people who are working their way up their entrepreneurial journey? Give us an insight in terms of the challenges and the opportunities in Egypt.
Egypt is a big economy. It's a country with 100 million population, maybe 110 million population. And if you look at the public GDP numbers, they're probably not doing the economy justice because there's a lot of gray economy. It's a very cash-based economy. So it's the economy, there's a lot of potential to digitize the transactions. Lots of gaps, and whether businesses or consumers have a lot of needs. So in terms of opportunities for entrepreneurs, there are huge opportunities because there's a lot of need and there's a big market.
That's exciting.
It's very, very exciting. When I started my first business in 2010, I couldn't raise money easily because there wasn't VCs, Series A, Series B, there weren't funds to support you. By 2017, a lot of money came into Egypt, so a lot of venture capital funds were established,
Yes.
and there was more access to funding. Obviously, more access in the earlier stage rather than the later stage. More recently, Egypt has gone through a little bit of economic headwind with the devaluation, which has put a bit of a cloud over Egypt in more recent times. But I just think that's the perspective from abroad. From in Egypt, it's still very vibrant, it's still very fast growing. We're growing very, very fast in US dollar terms, and I think it's a huge market.
And in speaking about US dollar terms, I began our introduction by mentioning how your unicorn is valued at more than $1 billion. How did it feel like when you crossed that mark? That's quite an accolade.
I feel it's still the beginning. We're just warming up.
Yes?
Yeah, no, there's huge potential. So the valuation is really the outcome of a lot of effort made and a lot of work being done to build something. And that's where the real reward comes. You know, the valuation is just a score, but it's the game that we're growing and we're continuing and we're trying to expand.
I think that's really exciting. I'm just going to ask the audience members, if you'd like to ask a question of Mounir, please do put your hand up. Fantastic. Can we please get 2 mics? We've got the lady here and the gentleman here as well. See, I did promise to share Mounir with you. Please do introduce yourself, where you're from, and
Okay, hi. My name is Samar.
sorry, would you put the mic really close?
My name is Samar, And I find this venture very interesting. Congratulations on these amazing achievements, Mounir. I wanted to ask you specifically about your users. You mentioned 1.5 million. What would be the percentage of women in these users? And what can you tell us about women borrowers? Are they, are there any characteristics that are unique to these women? And my second, perhaps, follow-up question is, are the banks feeling the competition now and are trying more to serve the underbanked?
That's a really great question. So there's a two-parter. The first one is
Sure.
about the characteristics of the people that borrow money that you're lending to. Yes.
Specifically women.
The women in
So what's the
particular.
percentage of women, and if there are any characteristics that are unique to them as borrowers? We know that women usually are more risk averse and so on, so I'd like to know if they actually pay back on time, for example. And then secondly, if your venture has started, making banks worry about the competition and working harder to serve the unbanked or the underbanked. Thank you.
So when we started our microfinance product in 2015, August 2015, for a span of 2 years, we had 100% customers that were only women. So we were doing just group loans for women, and we were probably one of the largest businesses in Egypt serving women. What this did what happened is we had to recruit a lot of women. We made branch managers women. I think we were the first to do that. So repayment of women is usually very, very good. It's usually much, much better than men, unless there's a shock. So it was traditionally the best until COVID kicked in. When COVID kicked in, women got affected more than men because the markets closed, they had to use their working capital for their homes, and it got affected. But it rebounded very well. What we've also seen is empowerment of women. So we've seen a lot of women gain their independence through increased income generation. We've seen them increase their employment, so they become recruiters. So that's our experience with women. Currently it's about 50% of our user base. So it's very high. In terms of competition from banks, was that the question? How do banks perceive us? So our business is buying wholesale from banks and distributing retail. So they view us as a distribution player. We get huge support from banks. We're working with 80% of Egyptian banks, if not 90%. And a lot of our businesses are regulated, so we get a lot of support from the regulator as well.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for those questions. Really insightful answers as well. I think the gentleman was ready with his question.
Yeah. My name is Mikhail. I represent Hydric and Struggles. Mounir, I was very curious in terms of your expansion plans geographically, particularly within the Gulf. If any, what would that be?
Yes. So we are at this crossroad right now. I think we're very, very well established in Egypt. We've covered multiple verticals. And currently, we're about to set up shop in the UAE and Saudi. We've also set up shop in Pakistan. And we're eyeing Turkey very, very closely. Omar, who's here in the audience, will be spearheading our GCC expansion.
Perhaps we need to get Omar on stage next time. Thank you very much for that question. Really good prompt there. May I ask if anybody else had any questions at this stage? Okay, we've still got a few more minutes on the clock, so have a think and don't be shy. Anyone else who's come in new that wants to take a seat, please do continue. Now, you talked about international expansion there. When we talk about apps, and in particular these kind of super apps, how they're very successful, where do you think it might be beyond what you've just mentioned, GCC, Pakistan? Where else is there feasibility in the future? Can you see the rumblings of like, we need to go into South America, for example? What could be the future?
So we look at countries with larger populations, large GDP, and underserved. So ahead of super apps, our core backbone is banking the and underbanked, or an underbanked. Even a lot of people in developing and developed countries are underbanked. So what I've seen is a lot of the banks work a lot with treasury bills, work a lot with lending governments, and not necessarily the base of the population. So honestly, I think the world is our oyster. So, but I think we're taking steady steps, and I just rather make every step a success. So.
Fantastic. I think that's a very good attitude. We've got a few more audience members. If anybody has a question for Mounir, please do indicate. If I don't catch your eye, then just indicate to my colleagues. And before the MNT and Halan merger, I'm told that you shut down your ride-hailing operations. Is it because it had it was hard for a startup to compete with well-funded global players like Uber, or were there other considerations?
It wasn't the funding. I aborted a $15 million round. So I had a round, I had the money, they wanted me to continue growing the ride-hailing business. I couldn't swallow it. The unit economics didn't make sense. We were making millions of rides per month. I would slow down on the, increase the prices a little bit, rides would go down. I would reduce the driver incentives, drivers wouldn't go to work. Didn't make sense. I couldn't nail it. Couldn't nail it. And some of the larger players in the world still can't nail it in many of their markets. So
it just made sense at that time to make that decision.
And it was counterintuitive, right? Because I was focused on unit economics, I was focused on profitability. In 2019, no one was. Everyone was focused on growth, grow, and no one was focused. So it paid me off very well that I made the decision that was, at the time, counterintuitive.
But that talks to your entrepreneurial instinct, that you had to trust that counterintuitive move, because perhaps something in your gut told you that would make sense?
Totally, yes. and I got a lot of advice from a lot of people whom I used to look up to keep on growing the ride-hailing business. So I went against advice, trust my instinct, and took the difficult route.
That's really interesting. And to just stay in this place for a moment, Mounir, because I think what you bring here, as I said, is this wealth of experience, this international insight in terms of the entrepreneurial journey. We've got a few more minutes on the clock. We've got budding entrepreneurs early in their journey amongst the audience. What would be some of the personal takeaways that you would say? How do people keep up, the motivation? How do they trust that gut instinct? How do they develop the gut instinct?
I don't know. I don't know if you can develop instinct, or instinct by definition is not
away
developed,
any
right?
It's a very clever man. He's not giving away any secrets. There's a book that's going to come out. Maybe that's what we need to do.
Okay, so...
okay, so there's trust, isn't it? There's trust in one's track record. When you made that really tough decision, that was counterintuitive. There was something you reached for, that you thought, in the past I made a decision which is counterintuitive, and now I can trust myself.
I think it's a decision that an individual consciously makes at a very, very, very young age. Are you going to be directed by what you genuinely believe, or are you going to adjust your behavior and adjust your what you say and what you do to get other people's acknowledgement? And it's this very, very thin line. And at a young age, I decided I'm going to do what I'm going to do, and if people like it, well and good. If they don't, then so I'm going to do the right thing. I'm going to do what I need to do. And I think it's a basic principle that you test from a young age, and then you start developing courage. And once you have enough courage, then you apply it to bigger decisions. So it's...
And I think that's really fascinating to hear that directly from you, because I know there will be people that take that away. I think we have a question in the front row. We're going to get a microphone to you. While we get the microphone to the gentleman, because I know we've got some new audience members, Mounir, if you had 30 seconds to sum up your business model, if there's someone new to the audience and they didn't know what you do, how would be the best way to sum up what you represent, what your company, the suite of products that you have?
So we're banking the un and underbanked, primarily in Egypt. We have north of $500 million loan book. We've got north of 1.5 million customer base. We've got a digital wallet where we've launched our cards. We do anything from microfinance, consumer finance, SME financing. We've got a super app that has an e-commerce platform, a game, and we're expanding outside of Egypt.
Fantastic, that's really good. I always find it's very useful to hear from the entrepreneurs themselves how you sum up your business model. It's very intriguing. This gentleman's been very patient. Please do introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello, my name is Ali. Egyptian economy maybe is unique. It has a lot of government involvement in the economy for the direct investment. Does that have any effect in your business in negative or positive way?
The Forex issue in Egypt. So what's good about us is that we're a defensive company, right? Because a lot of Egypt is an import-based economy. And because it is import-based, the average loan size adjusts according to inflation. When there is devaluation, there is inflation. Our main source of revenue is interest revenue. So when we see exponential growth in the loan book and nearly immediate. So our average loan size is about $1,000. $1,000 can be 8,000 pounds, 15,000 pounds, 30,000 pounds. And it adjusts very, very quickly.
Fantastic. Any more questions? Probably got another chance for one more question. No, I think that's fine. And just to honor your time here, Mounir, I think we've got a gentleman who wants to ask a question. Please introduce yourself and ask your question.
Hello. Hello.
Hello.
I am Tejinder Singh from India, Punjab. I am software developer. One thing for you, ma'am. I think you are Punjabi. I'm
Yes.
proud you are here.
Yes, I am. You can
I
tell
am
from
very
my
proud
name.
of you.
Oh, thank you.
And second thing I want to ask you, I am in IT service business. According to you, how to be success? What is the success mantra? Basics of success in the IT field,
Oh, so
according to you.
In the IT world,
Yeah.
in the IT sphere, what are the basics of success? What would be
Right.
your advice for the gentleman? What's your position in the IT world? Tell us.
Yes, I am a developer. I am proprietor and developer.
Okay.
Software developer, online.
Okay, fantastic.
Websites, mobile apps, etc.
Did you say your name was Tejpal?
Tejinder Singh. Tejinder Singh.
Tejinder Singh, yes, yes.
Yes.
He's from the same heritage as my parents. My parents are from North India, Punjab. So yes, he's a fellow
Ludhiana,
Punjabi
Punjab.
brother. Yes.
Ludhiana, Punjab.
Yes. So this is why we love to have the international audience at events like this and international superstars, because this is a cross-cultural experience. So thank you for your question. So he's asking in particular about the IT world, which is obviously central to your success, technology, not ecology. What would be your advice for someone navigating that career? What would be your advice for that world? You know,
So, number one, to solve a real need. Because if you solve a real need, you will get adoption. And then solve a real need economically. And then provide the service seamlessly and frictionlessly. And then keep on focusing on the number of users, but more importantly, repeat users. Because once you have a repeat user, then you know you're in a good place. And I think if you stick to these basics and keep your eye on the ball, then you're in a good place.
fantastic. And I think there what Mounir has done, he's distilled your decades worth of experience into these key takeaways, which is why there really does need to be a book. this autobiography, do you need a ghostwriter? That's what I'm saying. But no, I think what's interesting, Mounir, is because you are our finale session for day 2 here, is that we can take some very general takeaways from what you're saying. You said to the gentleman there, solve a real need. This can be applied to many different entrepreneurial journeys. Then you mentioned provide a service frictionless, and there was another word that you used. You said?
Seamless.
Seamlessly, okay, very key to that. The users, your clients, your customers, whoever they might be, people, court them, deliver their needs, and then try to encourage that loyalty, that repeat business. And I think that's where it's fantastic to have people like you share your particular journey that we can take away and apply in various different aspects of our lives and our journeys. And on that note, I'm going to say thank you so much, Mounir, for taking the time to join us from Egypt. We wish you all the luck with your GCC expansion, with your particular colleagues that you have here as well. Is there any final notes of wisdom you'd like to share?
Thank you very much. I've been honored. Maybe there was one question. If you have
there's
it,
one
I'll
more
take
question.
it.
You noticed, yes.
Two
We've got
questions.
2 more questions.
I'll take them.
We've got
Sure.
2 more. We are finishing a little bit ahead of schedule, so I think we can take 2 quick questions.
Hello, Mounir. This is Larry from Shaka Ventures. A quick question. So among the things you mentioned about a lot, right, like the shift from ride-hailing business to the digital bank the unbanked, which is actually impressive. So what is the core drive to, there's a lot of other challenges, and then there's a lot of sections actually unit economy makes more sense, right? So why ride-hailing and then digital bank for the unbanked? What is the main thing?
So the only big link between the two is I was into lending before the ride-hailing. That was the only thing. And then the ride-hailing taps into the same customers as the underbanked, because I wasn't doing ride-hailing in high-end neighborhoods. I was doing ride-hailing with motorcycles and 3-wheelers. So it was the same clients. So that was the link. And then the technology, we capitalized on the technology of geolocation. So now we have some loan officers that have the geolocation on the app, and we get the leads from the user app. So lots of synergies.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And there's one more question very quickly.
Good evening. Hi, Mounir. My name is Wajdi Abdurrahman from Sudan. And I have a question regarding what you said about providing services for the unbanked, because obviously we suffer from sort of the same issue in Sudan, a lack of banking infrastructure. How do you get the information out there to these people who are unbanked to explain the benefits of potentially onboarding onto your service, whether it's on a digital platform or through a store? And then is there any training or sort of info involved that you have to give them to be able to get people to provide those services? I'm thinking mostly in terms of people in rural areas and how, for example, they could be aware of the fact that they can apply for loans, for farming, or different types of agricultural projects. How do you handle something like that?
Fantastic. So that's a 2-parter.
Yeah. So in countries like Egypt and in countries like Sudan, I think having both online and offline presence, online and offline marketing would definitely complement each other and have 1 + 1 will not equal 2. 1 + 1 will equal 5. So I think marrying both together is the best, because people need to learn how to use the app, need to learn how to download it. Then you need frontliners to tell you this is a good experience, this is a bad experience, they get this, they don't get this. So I would marry the two. Thank you.
Fantastic. And I'm really glad that you drew that comparison, because it's good to learn from different examples. I think we did try to conclude, but I love the fact the audience was so dynamic and interactive. But now, because we do value Mounir's time, we will release him to continue his networking here at GITEX and at the Expand North Star stage. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. Much
It's been an
appreciated.
absolute pleasure. I feel like this is the first of many more conversations with you.
Looking
Thank you
forward.
very
Thank you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mounir. And we do return tomorrow. at 11 o'clock sharp. We've got a very exciting opening session here in Hall 9, so please do join us. 2 more days of 4 to go, so we're only halfway through action-packed schedule. Please do come with your questions, your enthusiasm, and your entrepreneurial spirit, because that's what we love. Thank you so much for being with us, and see you again tomorrow morning. Bye-bye.